I did serve from 2001, 2005. Our carrier battle group was. I've traveled extensively throughout the United Arab Emirates. I've been to Bahrain, Qatar, Qatar, Abu Dhabi, Bahrain. I've been to all those cities 8-9 times apiece, at least. And so I'm going to go through the cycle of a terrorist attack here. All right. So it comes in different phases. So the first phase is going to be a planning phase. All right. This is where they're just going to sit down. They're going to have a powwow. And they're going to start looking for targets that they're going to want to go after. Soft targets obviously are the easiest. Okay? But what they're going to do is they're going to look for behaviors. They're going to look for, is there a security presence? Whether it's a private, whether it's law enforcement. And even having a law enforcement on site won't prevent them. If it's a lone wolf attack, these guys are fanatical. If it's one police officer and they sit in their car,
they'll just shoot them.
They're done. Yeah, I mean, it takes nothing for somebody to come up and take out an officer sitting in their car. It's happening almost on a daily basis now. So that's so even having an armed presence of a police officer is not going to do you a ton of good necessarily. Okay, so if you have a team of guys that are working together, guys and gals that are working together, being observant together, you can help counter that. All right,
and noticeable, right?
What's that?
Noticeable to them in some form.
Noticeable to them, yes.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing I'll get into here in a little bit is not being in the same place every single time. It needs to change. There has to be change. Everybody needs to be comfortable working every position, the foyer, the confessional, up in the front pew, out in the parking lot. Everybody needs to get used to taking those positions, so they're going to look for stuff like that in their planning. So once they go through and they look at a group that they want to target, that's what they're going to look for. They're also going to look for a target that's going to get them the most headlines. So taking out a traditional community would be, that would be a big time tragedy. Of course, you saw what happened down in South Texas. It was over at Houston last year. Guy went in, took out a bunch of people, massive headlines. They want stuff like that.
Especially smaller churches where you think a bigger church might have more responses, but you know, it strikes more fear in us when you have a small church that's attacked versus a bigger church.
And it's an easier target for them because you have it's a lot of condensed bodies.
Yeah.
And if you have a big church, you're not going to inflict as much casualty with, say, a small confined area. 3 exits, 2 of them are very small doors to get through. You're going to inflict a lot of damage there. So that's going to be part of their strategizing as far as that. So once they have their area picked out, they're going to start their surveillance on you. They're going to start surveillance. It's going to be passive at first. It's going to be so much as simple as driving by several times. Of course, given our area here, I know we have visitors here, but given our area here, this is a busy highway. You can drive by up and down here 10, 20 times. You're not going to get noticed. And all they're going to look for is whose cars are here, which cars are here constantly. Who are your dedicated parishioners? And then from there, of course, they have a stakeout position right across the street. They don't have to come into your parking lot. So they're not necessarily going to be here on the grounds at first. They're going to be right across the street, walking down the sidewalks, and they're going to be surveying everything. They're going to be watching for us. The priests have to go from here all the way across that parking lot. Okay, what time are they leaving? What time do they go to the sanctuary? What time are they coming back? They're going to look for habitual patterns. These guys, they take notes because they get one shot. So their planning is going to be meticulous because they got one shot to get it done right, to inflict mass casualty before they take their own lives. This is only going to end in a suicide. They find great glory in that. After they do their passive surveillance, then they're going to start probing. Some of the military terms use a different term for it. I like the word probing because then they're going to start coming onto your grounds. This is where they're going to start looking, okay, we're going to send somebody in, or I'm going to come here if it's a lone wolf guy. I'm going to come in during a busy time, not going to be noticed. I'm just going to walk around and look at the community. Let's get an outlay of the land here. What does this building consist of? How many rooms are there? Are there a lot of people here? And he's going to go in, he's going to look at the sanctuary. That's going to be their main target. It's going to be that sanctuary on a Sunday during a big mass. That's going to be their primary target. They're going to start doing it. They're going to do that over the course of, it could be days, weeks, months, depending on how well trained or financed they are. They may be given all the time in the world to conduct this. You can see the 9/11 guys. These guys were rehearsing They actually did a full dress rehearsal of that attack before they did it. They want to make sure they get it right. So I want to reiterate that these guys are meticulous in their planning, because again, they got one shot and their life ends, so they want to make sure that they can outdo the last guy, if at all possible.
Would any of them become members of the parish?
That could very well happen, yes. They are allowed to assimilate into any culture, say whatever oaths they need to, and they basically get a pass for that. And they can infiltrate, absolutely. There could be people that infiltrate. That's why you need to be careful who you bring onto your security teams, things like that. While they can be noticeable to somebody like myself, they can be very unnoticeable, just an everyday person, have no accent whatsoever. Again, there's a lot of American citizens that are being radicalized right now. They're looking for those loners, because they're ultra hard to detect. And the fact of the matter is that some of them are going to operate, when these attacks are happening on churches, like I said, we haven't seen really attacks on churches here in the United States. They're going to come. The time is going to come. It's not a matter of if, it's going to be when. Right now they like hitting these Grand Central, these big New York places where they're going to get a lot of news coverage. Eventually it's going to make its way here into the heartland, and they're going to start conducting attacks. And if you're not prepared for it and don't know what to look for, you're going to be a sitting duck. So once they get the lay of the land, like I said, they're going to do all the research on what mass is most packed. That's going to be your primary target. What mass is the most packed? Get the most people together, or they're out in the
and they can check our website and say, okay, if they're infiltrating, okay, we're planning a big procession. Mm-hmm. They can go join our Facebook group. People post everything on there. So
pay attention to people, their body language as they come into your church is a big thing. One of the big things I look for is, I've only been here a short time, I've only done a few masses, is I look for people that are not doing Catholic things. Those will be your easier ones. Because when they're coming in, they're going to be so intent on planning that they may start, okay, I'm going to sign the cross, kind of blend in here, but they're going to be so fixated on what they're looking for, the weaknesses, the exploitation. They're going to not kneel. They're going to get sidetracked. So they're not going to do all the things that we normally do. They're not going to bow. There's going to be certain things that they're just not going to do because they're so intent on gathering information. So your team needs to be on the lookout. Once they get through with that phase, then they're going to move to their actual deployment. And slightly before that, they're going to do a dress rehearsal. So any person that's involved, they're going to take the position where they're going to be at, and by then they're going to be so focused, they're going to be completely out of touch with what's going on in the mass. So again, paying attention to body language, what they're doing, where are they looking. Something you guys need to learn is peripheral vision. Learn to start playing around with peripheral, make a game. Once they deploy, nothing's going to stop them. Law enforcement hasn't uncovered the attack by then. They're coming. And at that point, there's nothing you're going to do to stop it once it starts. And then at that point, it's going to be, how far are they going to get? Parking lot, foyer, into the church. So if you're in the parking lot, you are the key position in all of this. One of the notes I made is communication. If people are coming in late to mass, look, if you don't recognize them, you need to call it out. Hey, you got a unknown male, don't recognize him, on his way in. That needs to be broadcast. That the guy in the foyer needs to copy that, and as soon as they walk in, as soon as they go into the sanctuary, just next communication should be in the sanctuary. That way, the guy sitting up in the front or in the confessional will go, bam, got it. That's key communication right there. Now you have eyes on that guy, you know where he's at, you can track his movements inside the church. He starts acting fidgety, you can put yourself right next to him, and he's going to do one of two things. He's either going to leave, or he's going to go, well, I got to do this now, and he's going to initiate it, and you can tackle him and do what you got to do at that point.
Communion, you can stand right there and just look right down that communion rail. You see somebody reaching for something, you're right there.
Obviously, they get up to that point, they're going to hop over it, but again, if they're not expecting it, it could slow them down. They have to hop over it. If they're not hopping over it, that's time for them drawing, or they have to lower their weapon.
Yep.
So that's critical. Anytime that you can put between them, again, when it comes down to it, if they're armed and you're having to go in, just know you may have to sacrifice your life. You're on a security team, and it might sound like I'm walking around with an earpiece. If that's what you're doing it for, you probably shouldn't be doing it. If you're not willing to sit down and go, you know what, this is what it is. I have to sacrifice my life for the parish, for our faith, for everything that we believe in. You got to be willing to do it. And it has to be taken serious. There's this learning, again, chemistry. Spend time together, guys. Learn each other's movements. The good thing is I already know I have good chemistry with him because I literally glanced over and I just did this, and he came right across. He recognized it right off the bat. I can make eye contact with him and be like, do that, and okay, what's going on over here? Now your focus is there. Nonverbal communication amongst team members that's paramount as well. Because we don't want to be like, hey, or this. I mean, that just screams out security guy. Those are the guys who get targeted. Make no mistake, you're part of the security team, you're going to be a target. Earpiece in. Have your earpiece in. Anybody that can react, can prevent that person from getting up to the front or just standing in the back and just, mowing people down, that's key. I mean, the fact that you're willing to volunteer for this says, hey, I got enough in me where at least I want to say, hey, I might be willing to do something here. Okay, great. Now let's take it to the next level. Let's put in your earpieces. Let's stay in communication. Let's start working together as a team. Because that's how the military works. That's why we're so successful with regards to looking out for each other, keeping bases safe. Or guys that can communicate, and guys that are not afraid, hey man, hey, how's it going? You develop that bond between the team, spend a little time with each other, not just on Sundays, spend a little time every now and again, have meetings, have meets and greets and stuff like that. That stuff's gonna help the cohesiveness, and you're gonna want to protect each other even more. Mm-hmm. You can say, okay, I want to protect my parishioners. When you really start to develop that bond with them, then that comes, laying down the life part of it, if it ever comes to that, it becomes a whole lot easier. Also, again, practice. Practice. If you're armed, you need to be putting in range time. Range time. And in the event that it ever gets down to an attack, watch your crossfire. Know what your range is. If you know I'm good 5 to 7 yards, don't be at the back of the sanctuary trying to engage it. Shoot across the church at the front, because you're probably going to end up hurting more people than you're helping. Get to your range and then engage.
And that's what's important, being passive aggressive is what RDPD by the security teams to be. If you see somebody new, go up to them and introduce yourself.
Yes.
Are you new? You kind of feel them out a little bit, read their body language, if they get nervous or a little agitated.
Body language and is
show confidence. Yes.
But
the other thing to watch for, particularly if you're in the foyer or the parking lot, is bulky clothing.
Yeah.
And if their face says 150 pounds and their body says 175 pounds, there may be something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you can't see their hand, they may be buttoned down.
Yep. Absolutely. And backpacks. Again, of course, we have a lot of transients here.
Yeah.
So
the other night we had
that's it. We had one the other night. Those are things you have to be on the lookout for. But again, if there are longer bags, and of course, what makes it more difficult is now you have AR pistols. And they're a lot shorter, they're easier to conceal, so those are, and again, if they're coming here and they're hell-bent on doing it, it may start out as early as the parking lot.
Yeah.
So if
those are like Texas church, they shot through the windows,
yeah.
And then they went and he got one.
Yeah, the parking lot, they may start in the parking lot and work, they may already be shooting by the time, because if they scout it, they go, okay, this is a small community, they're all coming out here and there. And that's glass going both ways. So if you have a 7.62 round, 5.56 round, it's going through that glass. FMJ, it's going through the glass, it's going through brick. So, initiating attack right there and getting as far into the church as they can to inflict as much mass casualty, that's what they're going to do. So, like I said, that parking lot, whoever's working the parking lot, that is absolute critical.
And we should have an armed guy there.
And that was one of my notes. The church entrance, there's two positions that are going to be armed. It has to be the parking lot guy and the church entrance. You need to be armed. Once they're in the door, it's going to be harder for them to. There's a lot of men here, a lot of great virtuous men. So I'm sure people are going to step up in that. Outside of that, I'm done. I hope it was helpful.